chemistry laboratory, like any environment, contains hazards. However, chemistry, like any other activity, can be carried out safely if proper attention is given to following the right procedures. You'll be working with apparatus and in situations that for the most part will be new to you. You'll be working with a variety of materials. Some of these are corrosive. Some are toxic or flammable. Some may emit dangerous vapors. You may be asked to work with hot materials. In every case, the important point for you to remember is that safety is everyone's responsibility. Your lab instructor is trained in safety procedures and first aid, but the ultimate responsibility for your safety is your own. After all, who can look after you better than yourself? In order to practice safety, you need to develop a safety consciousness, and this program is designed to help you begin to develop this way of thinking. Now, we'll focus on what you can do to act in a safe and responsible manner. And since we're unable to discuss items unique to your specific lab, your lab instructor will inform you of any rules or procedures that are particular to your lab. For the same reason, information about specific experiments must be obtained from your lab instructor and your written lab instructions. However, we will discuss general safety methods and procedures that you should follow at all times in any laboratory. There are three areas of concern when talking about safety consciousness you must learn in order to be safety conscious. The first of these is prevention. You can prevent an accident from happening and take steps to minimize injury should an incident occur if you're committed to the concept of prevention. The next item is safe procedures. There are a number of easily learned procedures that you must employ when working in any chemistry lab, and we'll explain these procedures. The third step toward safety consciousness is learning how to respond properly when an accident does occur. It's imperative that you do not panic. Careful, methodical, and immediate action can often mean the difference between minor and serious injury. We'll talk about what you should do when an accident happens to you or someone else. Now, let's start first by talking about prevention. Thinking about safety is something that must become automatic for you even before you come to school. Think of the fact that you are going to be in lab today and dress appropriately. By that I mean don't wear loose clothing. Leave the blouses and shirts with long flowing sleeves at home. They can easily catch fire or knock objects over. And don't wear any dangling jewelry. It can get caught in the apparatus. And if your hair is long, tie it back. It's a serious fire hazard. Wear sturdy shoes. Never come to a lab in bare feet or in sandals. There's a great possibility of broken glass cutting your feet and chemical spills injuring bare or sandaled feet. In the lab, a lab coat or apron will help protect both you and your clothes from chemical splashes and spills. Perhaps most importantly of all, as soon as you enter any chemistry lab, remember, you must put on your safety glasses or goggles unless instructed otherwise. If you don't have safety glasses or goggles, see your lab instructor immediately. Eyes are too valuable to expose them to the dangers of splashed chemicals or an explosion. Make it a habit. Your glasses go on as you enter a lab. You may be expelled from the lab if you fail to wear eye protection. Even if you normally wear contact lenses, you should never wear them in a lab. A chemical splashed in your eyes can get lodged behind your contacts. Corrosive vapors can also collect between the eye and the lens. Your contact lens might adhere to your eye, making it impossible to get the vapor or chemical out and resulting in severe eye damage, possibly blindness. So prevent this. It's easy. I found that very often safety glasses wind up on the top of a student's head. Remember, even though you might not be working with any chemicals right now, people around you are. You're still in a lab. The danger is still present. What if your neighbor has an accident? You'll be unprotected. This is really important. Let's take a look at an example. Many accidents cause injury to people who just happen to be near the accident. In this case here, the woman on the left is working on an experiment while her friend is taking notes. You can see just how quickly an accident can occur.
Carol?
Oh, how is she?
She's doing really well. She has her hands full with her baby and all.
Everything you do has an effect on the people around you. Try to think of a lab as a community. As you've just seen, the actions of the people around you can have a serious effect on you. But if you remember to think prevention, you'll remember to protect yourself, and thereby the others in the lab. One of the very first things you must do when you enter a new laboratory is become aware of your surroundings. Look for exits. Discover how you would get out of the lab in a hurry if a fire blocked the door by which you entered. Look for windows. Could you escape through one if necessary? Now, every lab will have at least 3 pieces of lab equipment designed to help you when and if an accident occurs: a fire extinguisher, a safety shower, and an eye wash. Now, there will be at least 1 fire extinguisher and possibly more in every lab. Find out where it is. Your lab instructor may instruct you in its use. The second piece of safety equipment you should locate is the safety shower. Discover where it is in the lab and how it works. The safety shower should be used to wash any chemical spill off the body if the affected area cannot be placed under a regular water faucet or tap. Third piece of safety equipment in your lab is an eye wash. Find out where it is. If any chemicals get into your eyes, go to the eye wash immediately. If your lab does not have one like this one, there will be a length of hose attached to a faucet on a sink or some other device for washing eyes. If ever any chemicals get into your eyes, wash them immediately and continue washing them for 15 minutes. The next step towards safety consciousness is knowing and practicing safe procedures. By that, I mean you must learn certain laboratory procedures that promote safety. There are some safety rules that apply in all labs. You are not allowed to smoke or eat in any lab, and you should never put your hands or any object in your mouth if you've been working with chemicals. You should always wash your hands before leaving the lab. Very often you will have to use some type of heat source in your lab work. Heat sources are inherently dangerous. If you're using open flames in your lab, be especially careful. Never reach across an open flame. Your sleeve could catch on fire through this carelessness. Very often, a properly adjusted flame is almost invisible, and that doesn't mean it isn't there, and it certainly doesn't mean that it's not hot. Make sure that all your papers, your notebooks, and any flammable materials are well away from your heat source. Many of the experiments that you will do will require that you heat glass containers or possibly bend glass tubing in a flame. Now, unfortunately, there's no way to see whether glassware is hot. Therefore, if you're using a heat source around any glassware, always assume that the glass is hot. Handle it with tongs, pot holders, or other insulating materials. Besides glassware, the most common cause of burns is touching a hot ring stand. There is nothing in the physical appearance of a ring stand that tells you it's hot. However, remember that metal will retain heat for quite some time. So if you've been using a ring stand with a heat source, assume it is still hot and handle it very carefully. Another safe procedure to learn is how you should handle containers of chemicals. When you lift something from a shelf, make sure you have a firm grasp on it so that it won't slip out of your hands. And never assume that the cap, stopper, or closure is secure before lifting it. Always check. And make it a habit to pick up a bottle of liquid reagent with the label in the palm of your hand. Now, if everyone does this, then any drips from pouring will always be on the other side of the bottle, away from your hand. Anytime that you're working with chemicals that are toxic, volatile, have a strong odor, or are flammable, you should do your work in a fume hood. Some chemical vapors are heavier than air, and if you are not working in a fume hood, these vapors could hug a lab bench and travel quite a distance, possibly down the bench to someone who is using a burner. If the vapors are flammable, the resulting explosion will quite literally knock you off your feet. So use the hood if the vapors of the chemicals that you're working with are hazardous. Before you start any experiment, read the complete set of lab instructions carefully. Most safety procedures and warnings are clearly indicated there. If after reading the lab instructions you're uncertain about what you're being required to do, ask your lab instructor. Never carry out any experiment without knowing what you're doing. Because the labs are occupied by many other students, you should consider the safety of the people around you as well as your own. Never mix chemicals unless directed to do so. The risk is too great. An unexpected and potentially dangerous reaction could result. Remember, prevention and safe procedures can minimize the danger of an accident. However, it's a sobering fact that accidents still occur. Maybe right here in your lab now, during this school term, an accident might happen to you or your neighbor. The risk will be less if you are safety conscious, but the risk is still there. So what do you do when an accident happens? What are the proper responses? Well, the most important thing is not to panic. When an accident occurs, think about what you should do. Then react swiftly, surely, and in a manner that will not cause injury to others. Remember that the lab is a community. There are others there to help you if you have an accident, and you should be prepared to help them. If the instructor is not at the scene of the accident, someone should get him or her immediately while others are helping the injured person. Let's return to the woman we saw earlier who had acid splashed on her face. Watch how her companion works quickly and confidently to help her. Let's look at that again and study her actions. If you or your neighbor gets any chemical splashed on you, you must first remove any clothing that has come in contact with the chemical. This is no time for modesty. Temporary embarrassment is far better than permanent scars. You must get the chemicals in the cloth off your body. Your clothes will absorb the chemical, and you may not feel it at once, but it's still there. The chemical will soak through your clothing and quickly be in contact with your skin. Any clothing can be replaced relatively easily and inexpensively. Skin grafts, however, are painful, expensive, and largely avoidable. Now, most chemical spills are small, and if the area of the body that has been splashed can be put under the nearest tap, well, this is by far the simplest and fastest procedure. However, if the spill is over a large portion of your body, say more than your hands, get under a safety shower. The purpose of the shower is to deluge the affected area. You'll begin to feel better fairly quickly. But don't get out of the shower. Most people are not aware that chemicals can be absorbed into the skin. And although you feel better, you've only washed the chemical off the surface of your skin. If you get out of the shower too soon, you're exposing yourself to more danger because you still have the chemical in your skin. So stay in the shower for at least 15 minutes. With any chemical spill, it's imperative that you wash the area of the body for 15 minutes. Now, this is particularly important if you get something in your eye. Immediately go to the eye wash and irrigate the eye for 15 minutes. The eye works like a sponge, and when a chemical comes in contact with it, the chemical can be absorbed deep into the eye, just like the skin. Washing the eye cleans the surface of the eye first. It's only after prolonged washing for at least 15 minutes that the water succeeds in flushing the chemical out of the internal structure of the eye. After you've finished washing out the chemical, notify your instructor if he or she has not been the person assisting you. Then get professional help at the nearest medical facility. Even if your eye feels okay, go to see a doctor. You may have only numbed the nerve endings, and serious eye damage could still result. A good rule in any accident resulting in major injury is, after the initial first aid, further medical treatment should be obtained. Go see a doctor, just to make sure. Always make sure that someone goes with you to the medical facility. It's possible you could succumb to shock on the way, even if you think you're fine. Now, your instructor must be notified of all accidents, no matter how small they might seem. The most common laboratory accidents involve burns and fires. Most burns are small. If you do get a small burn, place the burned area in cold water or clean ice water for as long as necessary to treat the pain. As with all accidents in the lab, make sure your instructor knows about it. If your burns are serious and blister over a large area, see a doctor immediately. Often, fires start in ways that you don't expect. Never use a chemical that you've not been instructed to use. It's possible that the chemical is spontaneously flammable or explosive when it comes in contact with the air. Explosions are fast, and the firestorm they can create can be incredibly intense. Fortunately, most fires that happen in the lab are much smaller. However, the procedure you should follow in case of a fire remains the same. 3 actions must be taken immediately. Move away from the fire so you don't get burned. Evaluate the situation and call for the instructor. While you are evaluating the fire, decide whether it's containable and what chemicals are nearby. Your instructor may use a fire extinguisher or take other action, such as evacuating the lab. As we've said earlier, always report all accidents to your instructor. This means reporting all fires, even the little ones. Your lab instructor is there to help you, and if you are ever in doubt about any chemical experimental procedure, or if your experiment seems to be doing something unexpected, talk with your lab instructor. Never assume anything when it comes to your safety. And if you need help, yell. Your chemistry lab can be one of the safest places you can work in, certainly safer than your home. But this can only happen if you and everyone in your lab develops and practices safety consciousness. If you understand that your safety in the lab demands your constant vigilance, your chances of serious accidents and severe injury are minimized. I've tried to give you some general guidelines for safety in a lab. I know that I've covered a lot of material quickly, so let's review the concepts. You must develop safety consciousness. Think prevention first. Before you come to school, remember to dress appropriately for lab. No loose clothing, tie your hair back, and no sandals or bare feet. Protect your eyes at all times. Wear your safety glasses or goggles whenever you're in the lab. And don't wear contact lenses in the lab. Find the exits in case you need to get out of the lab in a hurry. Locate the fire extinguisher, the safety shower, and the eye wash. Learn safe procedures. Remember the rules of the lab. No smoking, eating, or drinking in the lab. Learn how to work safely around heat sources. Be careful with open flames. Remember, glassware, ring stands, and other items, when heated, can retain their heat. Be careful when you handle containers of chemicals. Grip them firmly to avoid spilling. Hold your palm over the label and pour out the other side. And remember to clean up all spills immediately. Use a fume hood for all toxic and volatile chemicals. Always read and understand the experiment directions before you begin. If you're uncertain about anything at any time, ask for assistance. When an accident does occur, respond properly and promptly. When a large amount of chemical is spilled, remove the contaminated clothing and get under the shower and stay there for 15 minutes. For small chemical spills, wash the affected area under a faucet for 15 minutes. When any chemical gets in your eye, immediately get to the eye wash and wash the eye for 15 minutes. Then seek medical assistance. For small burns, use cold water or ice. For large ones, get medical attention. If there's an explosion or fire, remain calm and get help quickly. Remember, all accidents, no matter how small, must be reported to your instructor. These reports are helpful in establishing new safety procedures that may be able to prevent similar accidents in the future. Now, often you hear it said that safety is just common sense, and of course everyone wants to be safe. Well, this is true, but being safe does not happen by itself. Safe environments are created. So be aware of your surroundings and practice safety consciousness.